Hello, my name is Carina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now. Hello, everybody. Today I have a very cool guest called Junie Swadron. Now, Junie has a very interesting story and a very interesting career that she's made for herself. Psychotherapy and writing coach. I mean, it sounds perfect, right? Especially with the journaling and all that stuff. But let's see what Junie has to say, and let's have an awesome conversation. Hello, Junie. How are you today?
Well, I'm so grateful to be here, Carina. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Junie, for being here. Tell us a bit about who Junie is and how did you come to this, your career and your calling.
Well, the writing has been something I've done all my life, and it's not something that we did in those days. Nobody said, Junie, go to your room and write in your journal, you'll feel better. I had this little diary that was given to me, and it became my favorite place to express myself, right? And it just kind of grew from there. I found the beauty of both the creativity that can come through words, as well as the healing and the catharsis. You know, when I was really young, it really was a safe place for me, and it was free. Nobody was going to read it. I had hoped, I thought. It did happen at one time. But anyway, no, it gives you a lot of freedom. You don't care about spelling and punctuation. You just write the way you feel it. But I had no idea that would one day play a huge part in my life. And it has, as a writing coach, which I've been for 30 odd years, as well as a psychotherapist. And because I knew the extraordinary benefits of writing, I would be using it with my therapy clients as well, right? Mm-hmm. And so it just morphed. I mean, for the same year I put out my shingle as a therapist, I put out the writing groups. You know, I started facilitating writing groups, and that goes back about 30 years. Who knew?
I love it. And I resonate so much with that because I've also been like a journal writer. You just write everything, and it does help a lot, especially with fear of actually publishing now. You know, now there's a writer, it's very easy to publish. Well, it's supposedly easy to publish, but how does the writer, how do you get your writers through, or how do you support them to get through like imposter syndrome? Like, I'm writing this book and it's still like, oh no, who's going to read this? This is terrible. This is so badly written. And all those horrible things that go into your mind and stop you. Right?
I know. Yeah, they do. They can. And so that's why I think that that's the distinction between me and a lot of other writing coaches, is because I use my therapeutic background, so that when somebody comes up with all of those things of which you said, but they have this deep desire to write a book or blogs or a one-woman play or God knows what, you know, yes. Whatever it happens to be. And they have this, and it keeps coming back. No, I can't. What if somebody reads it? What if somebody thinks that it's awful? What have I got to say? A million people have said it already, and all those things.
Yes.
But I always say that if it keeps coming back, you know, you can push it away. But if it keeps coming to you, then it's a soul's calling. And so we can work with all of those fears, because everybody has them. I had them, yes, you know, yes. I big time, you know, it's one thing to write in a journal. It's another thing to go out in the world and with your words and with your ideas and your thoughts and your beautiful manuscript, whatever that happens to be. So it takes courage. It's not for the faint of heart.
No.
And I work with people with whatever shows up. And so while people are writing their books with me, for instance, say it's a book, could be something else. It's usually a book. And something comes up, they know it isn't a race to the finish line. It's about writing from the most empowered place that they have within themselves. So whether they're an entrepreneur and they've got this phenomenal product or service and they've learned through their own experience why this works.
Yes.
And then even if while we're writing it, something, kind of gets caught in their throat, they just go gulp around this. Do I really say this or do I say that? We work with it so that when they go out into the world with their book, they can feel really strong and proud of what they are, because they're putting onto the page the best of themselves. Yes. The same when I work with a lot of elders who are writing memoir, and they often write because they want to just leave a legacy for their children. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, as they're writing, they realize how much wisdom they've gleaned over the years. And they want to go beyond that. And today we're living 10, 15, 20 more years than our parents and grandparents, for sure.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
So I don't know anybody that's retired and that much, right? In their 60s, 70s, 80s, everybody seems to really have a place to really give back. And so people who are writing a memoir, for instance, they see, well, I know what it was like to go through this. Mm-hmm. And I've learned a way. And if I can help even one more person not have to suffer that way or go through those challenges, then I would love to. A lot of them are out there doing their talks and giving courses. They're writing their books. They're on platforms, or they are really happy to just share with their children, their family, what they've been through, and share things that they maybe never have before.
I know it's such an exciting time we're in right now, where you've got all these opportunities. And how do you, because it's great, you see all these opportunities and you want to just do everything, right? How do you keep a writer, as a writing coach, focused on the project without getting this shiny object syndrome? Because there's always a course you want to do, or I don't know, something else, Facebook to check out, or how do you keep focused on your goal to get your book to the other side?
ABC of writing, apply butt to chair. That's it. That's all you have to do. For me,
I love that. But it's true, right?
It's so true. It's like anything else. If you want to do it, you got to just do it. And it's great to have a coach that'll help you through it. So I have various programs, author mentorship programs, both group programs and one-on-one. And I really have a conversation, kind of just like you and I are having, with the person before they join my group. Yes. Or the one-on-one, to see if it's really a fit. Is it something that they have a nice idea that maybe one day, or are they really committed? And if they are really committed, you're right, they'll still back out, because it's one thing to say yes, it's another thing to actually not be attracted to all those, bright, shiny objects. Yes. And there's everything. However, there's something so valuable about saying yes to something that you really believe in, and you've got someone who's going to hold your hand to the finish line. And so it's a structured course. I mean, before COVID, I did them in person, or I would do always in person for years and years and years. I would help people to write that way through various groups, as well as retreats in many places in the world. And after COVID, nobody's going anywhere. So I had to learn to put what I do online, and as an author mentorship group coaching call. And so there's a real structure of how to start a book, what to look for, how to who is your ideal reader, etc. So it's something to follow with homework. And so there are steps involved. It's not just, okay, well, I want to write a book about such and such and free flow, bye-bye. No, it helps people to really, really, really stay motivated.
Yes.
Wanting to, because their voice, I mean, I have my saying, my motto is, your soul meets you on the page and something shifts. You begin to stand taller. And one day you notice that your voice on the page becomes your voice in the world.
Yes.
And it does, whether it's thank you. And it's whether it's your voice on the page and their voice in the world is like, speaking to a loved one that you just didn't have the courage to say those things to before, or it's a book. It doesn't matter. It's something magical happens when we put our pen to paper or fingers to keyboard. There's something absolutely transformational, magical alchemy happens, because often we don't really know necessarily how to work with certain things that we're feeling, and we're scared, and the answers will show up when we let the writing do the writing. It becomes more of just a download, channeling. It's like we're listening, and we get out of the way, and we're not listening to those voices, and we're allowing for the wisdom to come through, and it does.
Yes. So I love that. So that's what I was going to ask you. You already answered my question. How sometimes just by writing and by feeling and just by being with the page, so to speak, your answers come, and they are like a message from above somehow, right?
Absolutely. I used to, as even a kid, and I came from a pretty challenging family, I mean, we all have our stories, and so I used to feel that there was like this benevolent energy with me. I didn't feel alone when I wrote. I don't even know how to explain it, and I certainly wouldn't have explained it that way then.
Yes.
That it was something as though I'm being held while I write. And then, so my journal has become my best friend over the years. It's always there. A therapist, a best friend, a partner isn't necessarily going to be there when you want them to be, but your journal will be, your diary will be. It's never going to say, oh, you said that yesterday and for the last 6 months, hello, get a life. It won't do that. It'll just hold the space and allow you to be there.
So is journal practice obviously ingrained in your coaching, right? Is that something that you teach your students?
I have them. Yes, I do. I have them keep a journal alongside the writing their book, because especially when things are showing up and they're triggered by situations that have them frightened, then it's really good to just get it out in your journal and then get the wisdom that you can glean. And what are the lessons here that I need to learn? And what do I need to breathe through? And how can I do that? And you can ask pertinent questions and you can find out so much.
Yes.
And right. So yeah, it's an important adjunct to writing what you want to say in your book. But I'm always saying the first run through of your book is it's a draft. It's for you, your eyes only.
Yes.
Because if you show your book to somebody, especially if it's someone whose approval you're looking for, you'll never write again. Somebody could just raise their eyebrows and that you're out of there. Well, that wasn't such a good idea, right? No. So it has to be kept really private unless there's somebody that you know more than anything is your champion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So how do you deal with, again, you have the adjunct of the journal, but how does someone deal with that actual fear when sometimes not even the writing, or it's even too difficult to write in a journal? How do you pull people through that kind of intense fear, because I mean it's scary to have your stuff out and about and people seeing it, and the fear of judgment and the fear of all those things.
That's why writing it for yourself first is the most important thing to do. And I help people, because I've gone, I think, as far down the rabbit hole as most anyone can go in the human journey. And so I can hold a space for almost any kind of fear that I'm aware of. And after 30 years or a lifetime I can just, people start to feel safe or safer. And then there are tools that you can learn. There are absolute tools to breathe through it. Instead of, when you're thinking about something in the past that horrified you, you're having, trauma because of it, your PTSD, you're every time you think of that particular incident, it's terrifying, and yet you want to write it, to heal it, to let it go, to become free.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I have another course about that, and it's called Rewrite to Reignite Your Life, and it's about that specifically, to write in a way that you can look at those situations. But one of the ways, and heal them, so you're not stuck in the past. Yes. Our past does not define the future, and it can only hurt us if we bring it into right now and focus on it, because whatever we focus on grows. But if we're writing about it, of course we're going to be focusing on it.
Yes.
But what I suggest is that you don't ever embody those memories. You imagine like there's a screen on your mind, but it's like way over the other end of the room somewhere. Okay,
yes,
so you've got that screen over there, and you are at this point as an adult an impartial witness to that. You're looking at what happened, and you're seeing that with tremendous empathy, compassion for the you that was in that situation or whoever else was there, but without the identity that that's happening right now and bringing it back into yourselves. No, from over there on the screen over there, you can turn it up, the volume, you can turn it down, you can turn it off, you can change the station, you can do whatever you want. It's an NLP, NeuroLinguistic Programming technique that you can use so that you can be that witness of your life now. And that's what you want. You don't want to be holding on to stuff that hurt you so badly that it's got control of the rest of your life. And that happens to a lot of people because many people have been traumatized.
Yes.
And since this pandemic, many people have been traumatized. And our lives as we've known them are not the same. So many things, so many losses on so many fronts, right? And a collective fear across the whole globe, because nobody knows, there's so much uncertainty.
Yes.
But when we come back to the present moment, unless there's some kind of, I don't know, gorilla, tiger, something that's about to eat you, we're not usually in trouble. Our present moment, we can breathe through and we can just come back to now. And that is such an important, and everybody, this isn't new information, but it's so important to remember to just breathe. Yes. To breathe and to change the trajectory of our thoughts, because we're in control of what we think and what we focus on. I said earlier, whatever we focus on is going to expand.
Yes.
So if we keep focusing on, there's going to the disasters, then we'll stay in the energy field of fear. But if we can breathe and just know right now all is well.
Yes.
And the quieter we become inside of ourselves, there's room for the universe, for the universal intelligence, for God, whatever you want to call that force that makes the flowers grow, that turns the night to day. I mean, whatever they call that, it's there for all of us, that we can tap into that energy, and all we have to do is be quiet to hear it. So the more quiet and still we become, we can listen and just be with what is and hear those messages because they're personal. I'll get something that you won't get.
Yes.
You'll get something I won't get. I'll get my marching orders. It's time to get up and go outside and take a breath. Or it's time to call so-and-so. And I do. And it just turns out that person who's impossible to reach, I was just thinking of you. Yes, I do have time. Oh, let's do it. You know, that's when the synchronicities happen and life becomes more of a flow.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I love that. But a lot of times you have so much anxiety within your soul, within your heart, that it's very difficult to actually trust to relax, right? So how would people get over that?
Well, I don't think you have to get over it. I think you need to feel it. I think you need to feel the feelings that you're going through. If it is extreme, I think it's important to find someone that you feel safe with, to a professional, someone perhaps, that you feel safe with in order to really, move through those feelings that you can't just push them down. That's where the anxiety comes from in the first place, because things get, I think it's a defense mechanism that is a natural thing for us when we're children and small, to protect ourselves, to feel safe in the world, is to just do whatever we need to do in order to survive. But those same mechanisms, if we're still doing them, then they're not going to work for us, because most of the way in which we navigate our way around the world and our life is through the beliefs that we take on, and those habits that become beliefs, those thought patterns that become, a belief, and it becomes true for us, but it's not necessarily true. So we need to examine it. We need to become conscious of our thoughts, because our thoughts are going to create our feelings. And then we have a choice. We have a choice how we respond. We can respond to what's going on out there as knee-jerk reaction, or we can breathe and we can take a moment or 2 or 10, and we can just step back so that we can have space for us. The breathing can give spaciousness. And sometimes we don't realize that we are allowed that.
Yes.
We have to give it to ourselves. And if someone's in front of us and say, well, could you just do this? And it's like, one more thing, I cannot. Oh my God. And you just want to scream, and you end up screaming at that person. No, stop it. You can just breathe and just say, I need some time right now to reflect on what you've just asked me. Or if you're stronger than that, I would love to, and I don't have the capacity to right now. Or let me get back to you on that. Hi. Yeah, well, thanks for calling. And no, it's really about so many things about developing boundaries and saying no and breathing. There's a million different ways in which we can come in touch with what is causing our anxiety, and then find ways to be resourceful, to self-advocate, if it means that. And we're so fortunate today, because there's countless places on the Google to find things that will work for you. Yes. You can just Google in major anxiety, can't breathe, God forbid. And you get the emergency numbers, you can get whatever it happens to be.
Yes. Yes.
Right? Helplines. You can find whatever that happens to be. Right there, right then, immediate. And, and then choose things that feel good. We forget when we're kids, before before we've been socialized of how to be in the world. Kids are spontaneous. They're natural. They have this natural curiosity. They just go out into the world and want to figure it out, and just, oh, wow, what's that doing to it? Oh, that looks fun, whatever it happens to be, but we learn not to. But before that, it's like coming back to that child and that beginner's mind and that little kid inside of us, and just say, hey, what do you want to do today, sweetheart? And listen. And
Yes.
listen.
Yes.
Really listen and start having a dialogue and build a friendship with that part of you that sometimes as adults we get so serious we forget to laugh and we forget to just have fun and do the things that we love. Get an I Love Me toolbox together. Just something that the things that you sometimes when we're feeling really out of sorts, we may not even remember what those things are, but if we write them down, bubble bath with Epsom salts and essential oils, going for a walk in the forest, calling a really good friend, watching, I love to watch, David and I, my partner and I, we love to watch America's or Britain's Got Talent and just see the extraordinary talent that's out there and blown away by, or music or dance or comedy or whatever it is that just, and the other really beautiful thing to do, is that we can start to be grateful for what we do have.
Mm-hmm.
Having an attitude of gratitude, we've all heard that a million times. And what does that mean, when our lives look like they're falling apart? Well, if they look like they're falling apart, but we still can go to the kitchen and turn on the tap and get clean water.
Yes.
That's pretty damn great. How many people in the world cannot?
Yes.
We have a roof over our head, right? I mean, even the little things that we take for granted, if we can turn on a light. I mean, there's just so many things that and the more we do this, and if we write it into a gratitude journal, we start looking for those things.
Yes.
We really do. And instead of waiting for the axe to fall, we're looking for the things that are going right. And the more we do, the more things go right. And on a day that we can think of nothing at all, because it's just been the day from hell, we can start to look back at the other things like the day before, and we can just say, right. And just remember and just say, thank you for this day because I'm still breathing.
Yes.
And then turn off the light. There's always something, right?
Right, I love it. But a lot of times you get so caught up in work and even in creating books or whatever you do as a creator, right? Mm. How do you get to a point where you say, you know what, I deserve this? Because a lot of people feel like they don't deserve to have a good life or they don't deserve to have good things. I mean, how do you get over that?
Again, I don't think you get over it. I think you work with it. And often that is about befriending the parts of you that feel that way. And my last book is called Your Life Matters. Mm. And it is about writing your stories, but it's so much like you just hit it right on the head. I mean, it's so amazing that as a therapist and a writing coach or whatever, the most common denominator that I have seen across the board, no matter how much a person has accomplished, they don't feel worthy. Yes, they don't feel that they don't feel like they've done anything, or it's there's so much low self-esteem. Mm-hmm. And so how do people get over the low self-esteem? By starting to acknowledge how far they've come as opposed to how far they've got to go. Yes. That they're stronger than they thought, that they're still here, that there are things about themselves. Most people would never talk to themselves the way they, or to a friend or someone they love the way we talk to ourselves.
Right.
So one of the things that I do, if I say, oh, you're such an idiot, you forgot your keys again, which I don't do, but I used to.
Yes.
I put my hand on my heart and I say, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. You're not an idiot. I'm so sorry. I just called you an idiot. I love you. And we'll find the keys.
Yes.
And just putting our hands on our heart and breathing, it settles our whole nervous system down. We have to change our thoughts as we start to recognize the things that the put downs we have for ourselves.
Yes.
Of thinking that we're unworthy, to just say that's not true. We are worthy. And no matter who it was that showed us that or told us that, and maybe they're long gone, maybe they're even dead. We take off, we continue off where they are on, where they left off.
Yes,
Their voices are still in our heads, right? Sometimes it's an angry, blaming, uncensored letter that you write to that person. You never send it. The person's alive, you don't send it. I don't care if it's a parent, a teacher, a minister, or something, or an adult that put us down, and we always felt afraid that we could never do anything right. You write that angry, blaming, awful letter to just say it the way you feel it.
Yes, yes.
Dear so-and-so, how dare you? How dare you? I was only a little girl, and you criticized me so much. You told me I was stupid all the time. I believed it. And even later in life, when I'm just making it up,
yes,
right?
Yes,
even
of course.
later in life, I'm not really making it up. I had a teacher that did that. And I did write that in one of my books, even in my book called Right Where You Are. There's a saying, there's all kinds of techniques of how to write around various things that for various things. And this one's the angry, blaming, uncensored letter. And then you just get it out.
Yes.
And then when you've had time to just release everything that you've needed to say, then you can take some time for that to digest, a day, a week, a month. There's no time limit. But just let it, because once you get it out, you've sifted the energy.
Yes.
And
yes.
you've claimed yourself back. Right? And then you can write a letter back from that person to you, assuming that person, you're gonna take the leap that person has learned some things since then.
Yes.
And that person's actually listening to you. And they can say, dear Carina, I heard everything you said, and I'm so sorry I hurt you that way. Because that little kid in us can't hear it enough. Can't hear it enough.
Yes.
And I'm so sorry. And I wish that hadn't happened. And I want you to know I was wrong. And I want to validate you right now. And, you just let it come from a deeper place inside of you where and this isn't an intellectual thing, because we can all say, well, that person must have had a terrible time to do that to me. And we know that as adults. We know that the bullies have been bullied, right?
Yes. Exactly.
But that little kid in us doesn't know that. So, right? So we're not going into an intellectual place, but we're coming from a spiritual, heart-filled place of a deeper knowing that on another level, that person would never do that if they had the know how to do it differently.
Yes.
Right? And so you're coming from that place. And then you can even write a letter back at some point and say, thank you for telling me that. I so needed to hear your apology, and I forgive you. And I'm not saying leap to that, but I am saying that forgiveness, I feel, is one of the most important things for us to be able to do. I'm not saying forgive the act, not saying that, not condoning stuff, but it is about releasing whatever is still we're holding on to and pointing blame and rage and anger and resentment somewhere else, because it's us that is holding that. And we want to be free. Yes. Ultimately, we want to be free.
Yes. So tell me, Junie, have you found freedom?
Oh, God, yes.
So what does that mean to you?
it means knowing that all is well, and that I just know that in my heart, because I know that I have this ability to be completely resilient. And through all of the hardship I've been through, the therapy I've done, the millions of courses, the work that I personally have done, and I guess, and my own spiritual practices, that I know that if I need to know something, I'll be given that message, and that I can let things go. You know, at one time I couldn't let anything go.
Yes,
It was too painful. I mean, my story, and it's out there now. At least a lot of it is in various books and plays and things that are out there. Is I was diagnosed with bipolar illness. In those years, it was called manic depression.
Yes.
Right. And very little was known then. I don't know if a whole lot's known now, except more and more people are diagnosed with it. And so it was a horrible time in my life. I was only 19 or 20, and I went through a tremendous amount of grief and angst and anxiety, and thinking this is, you know, these, it was like a revolving door in and out of mental institutions. And I was told the older I get, the worse it's going to be.
Oh, okay.
They couldn't have been more wrong. You know, I'm not my diagnosis or my prognosis or my label. We are so much more than that. And there was something inside of me that one day said, the buck stops here. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't know how. I don't know how, but I know that I want to live. I know I want to live. And there were a lot of times I didn't want to live. And I made the attempts not to. But I'm here. I'm here for a reason. I'm here on this planet to shine my light. And I'm so grateful and humble, because I have that ability to work with almost anybody who it goes into those places of desperation, and to offer hope.
Yes.
So that's freedom to me. Freedom to me is knowing that no matter what happens, all is well.
And that's a beautiful place to be, and to be able to get through to people. I mean, how do people get out of that hole of that hopelessness and helplessness where everything's dark? So, and it feels like sometimes where there's no hands to hold, there's nowhere to go, there's no one to give them a helping hand.
I've been in that place. I know what you think. I know. I totally know. But so it's not the truth.
Yes.
It is so not the truth. The truth is there's always, if you just even inside ask for help, ask fervently, help me. And then just listen and you know, like I said before, if you can, you know, just call a helpline. Just call somebody. Somebody. Walk out the door if you can and knock on your neighbor's door. I need help. I know that sounds absolutely, when you can't even get out of bed. How are you going to do that? I don't know, but I do know that you're not alone. Nobody is alone. And most people are so willing to just say, yes, I'll find you help. I will find you help. Because when we're in that state of mind of hopelessness and that there's nothing and no one, it's a bleak, 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 horrible place to be. But if we can just hang on one more day and know that we are coming from a very troubled mind, it's not coming from a rational place. And it's hard to know that that's the truth. but it is the truth. And the thing is before we get there, if you can do some preventative measures, then it's time to be able to just say to somebody, I'm kind of feeling depressed. I'm not feeling myself these days. Could you just call me, please, on, help me get up in the morning? Could you just come by, or would you mind doing, so many of us are so afraid to ask for something.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we're afraid. Especially if we have that belief that we're taking up too much space in the world, and we're not deserving, and we're just causing a burden for others. It's a burden when you know somebody you love is suffering and you don't know what to do to help them. That if someone is able to say to that someone, just be there today. You don't even have to do anything.
Yes.
Or I've run out of milk. Would you mind just going to the store? Or could you just walk with me? Or could you watch a movie with me? Or could you call so-and-so? Because I can't find their number. Whatever, I don't know. There are endless things that people, there's also, I'm going to put it out there, that there is an organization called WRAP, and it's Wellness Recovery Action Plan. And it's brilliant. And people can Google it. It's WRAP Around the World, WRAP, WRAP. And what it is a plan to help people get well and stay well that are very systematic tools that a person can use for themselves. It's a whole plan and there's courses online for free. There's resources. There's an app on your phone.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I happen to be a certified WRAP facilitator here where I live. It doesn't have to be me. It's not, I'm not suggesting that at all. Wherever you are in the world, you can reach out and there are tools, to use, like a daily maintenance plan. What do I need to do every day to stay well? For some people, it's just getting out of bed. I need to get out of bed. Years ago, I needed to get out of bed and make my bed, because there's nothing more inviting than an unmade bed and want to crawl back into it.
Yes.
Somehow I tricked my mind that if I made my bed, I wouldn't want to mess it up. So, right, all these little hacks. Some people, to this day, I know for me, I need to take water, or if I'm going out somewhere, I need to make sure that I've got a snack, a healthy something to take with me. Because if I'm going from one place to another, which hasn't happened a whole lot in the last 2 years, I have to say, but normally we have been, I'll just end up finding something on the fly because I haven't, thought to bring a healthy apple or a snack or water or a meal with me. And I'll just go and get something that's not really all that healthy because I got to have something in my stomach, and then it's not good. So we all have to think of those things. For instance, if you have medication, I have to remember to do that. Yeah, for everybody, it's different.
Yes.
It's creating a wellness plan and a trigger plan. Like if you're triggered by certain things, you have an action plan. Loud noises are a trigger for me. Yeah, they really are. So I know that if I'm even walking down a path in a forest or along the ocean here, and there's a whole bunch of people and they're laughing and joking, it's nothing threatening. I have to move over to let them go by, because just that. Or if I'm in a restaurant and there's lots of loud noise behind me, I usually try to find the seats by the wall.
Yes.
So we find what our thing is of what I can do to mitigate whatever those things are. And it goes on. There's so many beautiful things. And there's one of the things is a support system. That you tell people that you're doing this WRAP, and would they be one of the supports? And it's not just one person, because that one person can burn out if you have them doing everything. But if you have a person that loves to cook, maybe they'd be able to help you with that. Do you know somebody that loves to just go for a walk? They could do that. Anyway, it's when you ask these very, very, very pertinent questions, what does somebody do if they're feeling so unwell and so hopeless? Then there are so many amazing tools that we can find at the tip of our finger these days.
I know, it's pretty cool. But again, we go back to how we taught. Some of us are taught that you don't ask for anything, you wait. You see, you need to wait, or you need to wait for someone to give it to you. Or so it's, for some people, I mean, how do you get over that belief that you can't ask?
Well,
it's not okay to ask.
Well, you can ask yourself, how's it working for you so far?
Yes. Exactly right.
You haven't asked and you're feeling alone and nobody likes you and you're feeling isolated. And is that the truth? Probably not. And
yes.
So those are the things that I mean. When we have been taught things when we're really young, if we haven't healed those things, we've got a 7-year-old running our bus. And we've got somebody that's just a little kid who's still steering the bus of our life.
Yes.
And until we become conscious of it, and then we can do something about it. And so I think one of the hardest things to get over is nobody can do it for us.
Yes. Right. That we are responsible for our lives. And it's very exciting, but it's also very freeing. But for some people, it's like, oh, no, now I've actually got to do something, right? So there's no one to blame. There's nowhere to go. It's you and the way you feel about yourself.
Well, right. That's the truth. So many of us can say, oh, my gosh, if she just did such and such. But if that person isn't ready to turn that corner, we can't force anybody to do that. We have to summon up that within ourselves and know our lives matter. And know we matter. And because we do. It's our birthright to be free. It's our birthright to have a voice.
Yes. And that takes a long time for a lot of people because to actually have that voice, there's that fear again, to actually stand up for yourself and say, no, this is me, or to go out and to publish or to write your articles or whatever it is. There's that imposter syndrome and that fear again of ridicule or haters or whatever it is. So it's getting over that, right?
It is. It really is. It's just, we all have voices in our head, and it depends which one are we going to feed, right? We've heard that parable, of is it the fox? I've forgotten basically, but whatever thoughts we feed in our head, that we give life to, that we give credence to, that's what we're going to get. If you want to see what your life looks like, look around you.
Yes, exactly.
We don't have to go very far. If we've got, for a lot of people who were raised in unhealthy situations, there's a lot of chaos often. Mm-hmm. And so there's an old adage, no matter how crappy, there's no place like home. And so because it feels as familiar, that's what feels like home. And so if there's no drama happening, then we don't know what to do with ourselves. I know for me, it took a long time to know what to do with quiet. Now I love it. I just relish my time alone and quiet and no drama. I don't have drama in my life.
Yes.
I really don't. And there's all kinds of drama outside. And I'm aware, and as an empath, it's not like I don't feel what's going on globally or not know about it. Yes, it's just that if I choose to really focus on that, it'll overwhelm me. And then I won't be that person that I am. And I won't be any good for anybody.
Yes. Yes, that's very true. Junie, where can people find you?
On my website, junieswadron.com. And Yeah, they can find me there, Swadron, Junie. I have a YouTube channel as well, where I have a lot of podcasts. There's podcasts on my website. It's called Your Life Matters Soul Connection. Yeah, they can find me. My books are all out there. And my programs, I have a new one starting, a couple of them in January. I'll have a new January 2022. I'll have my newest author mentorship program starting, as well as I'm certifying coaches and healers and therapists for my program, Rewrite to Reignite Your Life. And that's also on, right now it's a self-study program online. I've been doing it for, 20 odd years, and I'm ready to pass the torch to people. It's, I've had thousands of people, literally thousands of people go through that course over the years, and their lives have changed dramatically. It's a course that, following a book I wrote called Rewrite Your Life. I wrote it in 2009, and it was to help people transform their lives from the pain of their past so that they can live really fully present in a life of today, a life that they love. And so it's healing, and it's using writing as a therapeutic tool to do it. And so there's all that guidance. So if there are therapists and healers and coaches out there that want to be certified in something like that, to use as an adjunct to what their practice is already, they'll have full rights to the program after the course. So that's coming up in January too.
Oh, that sounds very exciting. So that's junieswadron.com. That's where you need to find Junie. Junie, before we go, what change do you want to be in the world?
I want to be a lighthouse, right? I want to just be able to help people come safely back to their own shore. I want to help people find their authentic voice and speak it out loud in whatever way they can. And I just want to be me and show people how they can have the same. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
I love that. So you really walk your talk, right? And that's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Junie. Thank you so much. It's been awesome. An hour's just gone by, like so quickly.
I can't believe it. Really? Wow. Okay. Well,
it seems like, yes, a few minutes, but thank you so much. And thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And thank you to everybody else. And we will see you all soon. Bye. Okay. Bye for now. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening. And thank you for listening right to the end. Now, if you want to know more about breaking fear and if it's keeping you stuck, check out the quiz. The details are below. Subscribe so you can hear some more of this delicious conversations. And then watch out for my book, The Clank of Chains, which is coming out very soon. Thank you again for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.